with quorum, we can go ahead and call this meeting to order. And I get to hit my fun gavel. All right, so let's see, we've got this. Perfect. So the first thing I want to say is welcome, obviously, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. And this is one of the first meetings, I think, that we've, other than during COVID, that we've done almost entirely virtually. We've got a crew in the room here, but we are trying to probably every other year do it a little more in this fashion and not necessarily have a giant event every year in the effort to save some money, which we'll talk about a little later. But I also want to thank the Charlotte Curling Club for donating the space. They are always very kind to me, so many thanks, Leanne and others. And also a huge, huge thank you to all of our volunteers. And that is such a broad and all-encompassing thing. I wish I could name every name. We have hundreds of volunteers throughout GNCC, people who are event chairs, people who are on our board, people who are handling our ice making and nominations committees, and just a massive amount of effort goes into this. And it is, I think, even as a board member prior to becoming chair, it always stunned me how many people are willing to give their time. Now that I'm chair, I see more of it. And I am super, super thankful to everyone who puts in time and everyone who owns something, right? Because I think one of the hardest things at a volunteer organization is to have volunteers that are dedicated enough to own something and take it on themselves. And we are so fortunate to have so many of you in that position, especially those of you on the call. I can't thank you enough. So our agenda today, I'm going to go through some updates first. We'll talk through our committee reports. We'll have a few guest speakers on for that. Peter will take us through our treasurer report and the budget vote. Amy is going to take us through our elections and the nomination committee's nominations. Then Dorothy will present our awards. We'll go through any old business from last time. We'll talk through new business. So if there's anything new for the good of the cause, we'll talk about it then. And then we will adjourn. One fun thing that we've learned this past year, actually, is that we do not need a motion for adjournment if we put it on the agenda. So it is on the agenda. We use that in our board meetings too. It saves a little bit of time at the end. So the first thing I want to kick off with, obviously we've had some huge losses, especially, oh, sorry, that got me, especially in the past week. We've had some really big losses across GNCC. I didn't think it would hit me that hard, I'm sorry. One of the people, for example, we lost was Herb Kupchik this past week, and that was a really tough one for all of us. And we've also lost a couple of presidents and past presidents in the past year. And certainly these are huge losses for our community. We also have many people across the organization who, you know, it's the unfortunate part of having such a close community that you often lose people that are very close to you. So I'd like to just observe a moment of silence for all of them. All right. Now that I've had my moment, I'm sorry. I do want to share some happier updates though, and especially one that has come out of one of the losses of our past presidents, which is Kim Tileman and her husband Tom. Kim passed away this year and was our first female president. As part of that, her husband Tom and family and a few within the Second Century Fund, so Gwen and John Barbagallo and Dave Fink especially, who's been instrumental in this, have helped to set up a scholarship fund that will benefit the female curlers in the GNCC. It is completely donation funded, and so we are accepting donations for that all the time. We do have a few initial donations to get us started, but that is available for anyone to donate to on our website. And it is, the applications as well are open. So if you are know a female junior curler who is looking to do things at either a regional, national, world scale within the GNCC, that application is open, and each year we will award $1,000 to a curler to help with their travel expenses and things like that. I think it's sticking here.
Correction. I think Kim was the second female president. I think Peggy Hatch was the first.
I don't believe that's true based on the records we have. I could be wrong, but we'll say Kim was a female president, and she was a champion of female curling, and that's what we loved about her. We also this year welcomed the Tulsa Curling Club. So I know I said this very early on before we started, but welcome to Tulsa. Thank you for joining us. We are so happy to have you here and as part of our larger GNCC family. We voted on Tulsa joining us earlier in the year, so no vote needed today. We also completed our website upgrade. So huge thank you to Dion and Marek and others who helped with that. We had a very old back end to our website, and we were very out of date. So I think we talked about this a little bit at the last meeting. It was just something that absolutely needed to happen so we could continue operating our website. And so we went through that early on in the year. I will say one negative of that is we did lose a little bit of data during that point. So we've been working hard at restoring that, especially contact data of our reps and things like that. So we'll make sure that that continues, right? Because our curling organizations are always changing. So we want to make sure that we are keeping our records as up to date as possible. So ongoing efforts there.
One comment on the website. Going into the member site, you no longer have access to phone numbers, just have an email. Was there a specific reason for that?
Not necessarily, no. This might be something that reverted during the website. Certainly we can talk through and address that. Deanne, if you're on, that might be a question for you in the future. We also moved to Google Workspace. So one of the needs that we recognized really quickly when we had a larger board transition this year, really, a lot of new members and things like that. And we realized that we didn't really have everything in one place where everyone could access it. We didn't really have, our emails were kind of going through a redirect from our website. And so to make this a little bit easier and a little bit more transparent to all of us, we set up a Google Workspace where we can now have things like the annual reports where everyone can log in and take a look at all the annual reports at your leisure, rather than hosting everything on our website where we can't update it as frequently. We have some options for this now. We also, thanks to Roger Rowlett, are building a database of event formats and event draw schedules and things of that nature to help people better prepare for events. So thank you to Roger and others for taking that on. We also did some PayPal pilots this year. That's a bit of a tongue twister. We obviously, as most of you know, have not had a way to accept electronic payments in the past. That is something that I've heard from many of you that you'd like. So we have piloted that for both the Ross Tarleton event fees as well as our Kim Tileman scholarship. So that is working. We will potentially try to work that into other areas where we have separate accounts and can track it really well.
Member dues as well?
Member dues, not yet. That's a little tougher, but certainly that is a big goal, because I think it is sometimes they take a good like 3%. So
club's dues. 50, 100 members, and they're taking 2-3% of it.
That is part of the like the club would be responsible for that, unfortunately. But so it's something that we're trying to figure out a way to handle for sure. So. All right. The bylaws. So I'm going to address a little bit of old business here, because we talked about this quite a bit in our last annual meeting. The bylaws we have been working on hugely. We've spent a ton of time on this. We had a bylaws committee, thanks to Gwen and Bob and Karen Cousins for leading that. So that committee actually took a full look through our bylaws, a little more holistically than maybe we have in the past, and said, these are the things that we recommend. So then the board saw this and kind of had some ideas on how we may want to change things as well, and how we may want to simplify things. Nothing radical, but I think the bylaws just need an overall, we need to make sure we have the right version, we have the right language in there, we have explanations, and it's legally reviewed. So we've had months of work going on our bylaws. We actually tacked on a half hour to an hour on all of our board meetings just to go through each item in the bylaws. So it's been a little painstaking, but I think it's a worthwhile cause. And our next steps are to ensure we have what the board and the committee viewed as the changes that we'd like to see, and then submit that for legal review. And then by our bylaws now, the review and approval of the bylaws has to happen at the annual meeting. So that will be next year's annual meeting. But there is a ton of work happening on it where we should have a version ready for you that is legally reviewed by then. We're also working on a code of conduct. This came up kind of as and I know Jen is going to talk about USCA and some of the work they're doing around this, but this came up as something that we really should have on our own as the GNCC, which we don't really have today. So we are going to draft a code of conduct. That's a bit underway. And then lastly, and I'm not going to talk about this much because Bruce is going to share the details with you, but we had our first Can-Am Mixed Challenge, which was the first international mixed event, the first time the GNCC has held an event with our Canadian friends that has had women involved. So a big step forward for all of us. I went to the event. It was wonderful. I'm going to not steal Bruce's thunder and let him speak about that in a little bit, though. All right. So we actually did have one update to this since we had one club that was a little bit late on dues, so we don't have their roster numbers in here yet, but we have 7,689 dues paying members now, which is 2% growth since last year. That doesn't include the additional club I mentioned, but we're still growing. We had a couple of clubs who have resigned, which I'll talk about in the next slide. However, we had Tulsa join us, and so we are, you can see we're peppered throughout the country now, which is amazing to see. And thank you to Dion for working hard on this map here. But I expect continued growth. We'll continue helping you grow, especially with this year being an Olympic year. I would expect to see significant growth coming. And the fact that we had growth at all in the final year before the Olympics is generally great, because I know a lot of clubs don't see the same pattern as we get toward that time of huge growth.
This is a note of the growth. Probably in 2008 or 9, we were on 2,000 members.
Yeah, it's huge.
So,
we've seen many years we almost doubled. It's been crazy.
Yeah,
so.
it's been fantastic.
Yeah. And I mean, as you all know too, we rejoined the USCA. They made some worthy changes, and we voted at our last annual meeting to rejoin the USCA. Even with that, we were able to keep our clubs that are not necessarily in our geographic region, according to the USCA, because we asked for that, because we want to maintain you as members of our community, and we hope that we are serving you well. And again, welcome to Tulsa, who is right there in the middle of the country, and we're glad to have you. So I mentioned Tulsa. We did have 2 clubs resign, so I'll talk through those a little. Oklahoma City was, so they actually rejoined USCA. They were not a USCA member when they joined us. They rejoined USA Curling and decided that they wanted to join their geographic region because it would be a little closer for playdowns and things like that. So amicably, they're still honorary in my heart, but they are not part of the GNCC any longer. And then Penn State Curling Club also resigned. They weren't using GNCC programs as much as a club, and so they may be a better fit to be part of the collegiate curling effort. And then lastly, and this is going to be a vote that needs to happen based on our bylaws. Jacksonville Granite Curling Club has not been curling as much. Their numbers were dwindling, etc. We've been kind of unable to get a hold of the people that can make any kind of decisions there, and so they have not paid dues for the past 2 seasons. And according to our bylaws, we need to hold a vote during our annual meeting in order to remove them as members of GNCC. I will say with that if they if they're able to pick back up and curl and want to take advantage of our programs again, there is nothing that is barring them from reapplying as a member, and that would be subject to a vote by all of you. So with that, I'm going to put a motion on the table to remove Jacksonville Granite Curling Club from the GNCC due to the non-payment of membership dues for 2 consecutive years.
Second,
Who was that seconding?
Dorothy Roach.
Thank
From
I thought so. Thank you. So with that, is there any discussion on this or any questions? Please feel free to unmute. Jen?
Hey, Kristen, thanks. Just wondering, has there been, I'm assuming there's been conversations and they've just decided that they're not interested in being part of GNCC, or?
So we've not been able to reach them recently. So we had contacts who are no longer really doing anything with the club, and they've passed us along, and we just haven't been able to really connect that well. Last year we had a few connections with them, and it was the reason was that they were really not curling much. They were having a lot of ice issues, et cetera. And so especially last year, there were conversations around it, but this year they've really dropped off. We haven't heard much from them at all, unfortunately.
Are they renting curling stones or have any GNCC equipment?
They do not. So we double checked that. They are not renting stones any longer, and they have no GNCC equipment or anything owed to us, other than dues if they were staying.
Right. Good question.
Any other questions or items for discussion? Okay. With that, I will go ahead and open the vote. Give me about 20 seconds to do that.
So for us, after you open it, you just hit the next vote button.
Yes. So I just have to go back to my dashboard here. So again, we're doing this live. All right. Start vote. All right. So the vote is activated. So you can go again to that same Election Buddy site. So Scott, I think you're going to actually, I'll just pop the link in here. The link is in the meeting chat, also on your screen. And when you log in with your access code and your GNCC password again, you will see a vote that says removal. So the button that says removal, you're going to click on that and then make your selection. I'm actually doing this for Charlando as we speak. Yeah. All right. If anyone has any issues, let us know. And again, you can always text or call Scott, whose number is right there at the bottom of the screen.
It didn't ask me for an access code. Let me vote. Now, when I'm going back, it doesn't take me back to where I can put in another access code.
Okay, Tim, it would be the last access code that you use. So it's basically saving the last one that you used. So now, since you have another club to put in, just go back and hit that back button like 3 times like you did before.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, is it letting you put in another access code?
Not yet.
We have to close, reopen the period cache.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
exited out and came back in, and it didn't ask for another access code,
Yeah.
just because I'm already.
It's gotten me back to the Grand National Curling Club, view results, Google Meet, welcome, and thank you for voting today.
Go hit back again.
Or just hit view results,
Okay,
and I'll say back to member page.
okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
taking me back to that page. It's not letting me put in
Hit
another.
back as many times as you can on that to get to the access code page. Or alternatively, yeah, I think that's the same, Matt. It's a cookie or a cache that is remembering your last one. So if you hit back multiple,
I'm back as far as I can go,
okay. So,
unless I go back past, and sign into Election Buddy again.
yeah, so actually, Scott says he's using a mobile device for one and then laptop for another. I think, yeah, and Roger's doing the same. That might be a good strategy for one. I know you have 3 So it's a little bit more difficult. What you could do if you're using Google Chrome is go to the three-dot menu on your browser and open a new incognito window.
Okay, I'm not sure how to do that.
Worst case, he can text me.
Yeah, let's do that. Could you please text Scott your vote?
Just say the club and then the vote.
Club and then the vote, yes. So a yay is a vote to remove, a nay is a vote not to. And of course, abstain is an issue. I'm going to extend the time by a couple of minutes here, and we'll come up with a good way to do this. If you want to just do the same thing for the next one and just text your vote to your other two votes to Scott, that would be just fine, Tim.
Okay.
Lots of good suggestions in the chat, though. The incognito, the different browsers. You guys are on top of this.
It's just hard because
Oh, we're gonna I did one on, but then I also have a curriculum coordinator login and I
Man, anyway, and
have Firefox
Yeah.
or Safari. And then I use all the incognito tabs, to search for flights.
All right, there's another 2 minutes left in the vote in case anyone wants to get up and stretch.
At least it's cooler.
Tim, I'm just checking on you. Were you able to get everything to Scott?
did you balance?
2 seconds.
All good.
Okay, text just went.
Beautiful. Thank you. Scott, if you need me to extend time, just let me know. We have about a minute left.
Una minuto for me.
Okay, I'm just going to extend by a minute just so you have time to do both. And then I can close it whenever you're done.
Okay. So I can report the proper number.
And you probably need to refresh after it's.
Yeah, well.
All right. Is anyone else? So we got about a minute left in the vote. Anyone else having
I'm
issues?
getting more texts. Give me a sec.
Okay. Okay. Are you putting these in? Go ahead and put those in.
Into the,
Yes.
I can do it like this.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to make someone's vote. Voting machine.
Just go in like their access key.
I'm seeing.
And Scott, the ones you sent us are ones that need to be put in manually, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I am editing my format as I go. I'm gonna do club, parenthesis, vote count, vote.
Okay.
I'm on the back end here. I can't.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I'll get the number.
Yeah,
Yeah. it's
we should
fine.
be just fine.
I'll just give the number.
Yep. Yeah, just add it up right now and you'll go.
Can you go look at the numbers for me?
Yep.
Okay.
14,
Changed it.
162, 169 plus 8.
How much longer you got on the book?
It's wrapping up now, and then we have some manual ones that we are recording, and so
That's all the text I have.
okay,
Okay.
perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close it. Perfect. Okay, so our final results, I'll let Jeff read those off in a second here. We did have some manual votes come in, so
So we have 6,042 members as yay, 1 abstention from 53 ballots. So the motion passes.
thank you. Perfect. Thank you all for the first live one here. It's great. So for those of you, before we move off of this, so obviously I will say officially the motion carries. We are removing Jacksonville Granite Curling Club from GNCC due to the non-payment of dues. For the voting process as we go forward, for those of you who texted Scott, just go ahead and if you're going to do the same thing for the next, just go ahead and text him right away and we will start entering things right away so we can have them all in the system this time. And that should be the way to move forward. So for those of you who have multiple, who are having any kind of issue with multiple access codes, just plan on texting Scott your votes, please. Scott, anything to add there?
I'm gonna make it into one block, so as they come in, I'll just edit it for each vote for you guys.
Beautiful, thank you. And I'll plug it in on our end so we can then see the results in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. So I'll move on then. The next thing is help needed. So I mentioned all of our wonderful volunteers at the beginning. We have filled quite a few positions throughout the years that became available. I would shout out to Tim Klein for being our new insurance director, which he's been amazing in that role so far. We do need chairs for events coming up. The first is mixed playdowns. The second is the Open Championship. And then Dave Rossler could use some help with arena playdowns and our arena championship. So right now, those 4 events all need a chair. Essentially, the chair works with the host club, first helps find a host club, and then works with the host club to make sure that they have the time scheduled, they know the format, they know the draw. A host or a chair rather can have a committee if they prefer. But we do need someone to basically own the event and really run with it and make sure that all the trophies get to the right place and that we're able to check all of the attendees against our dues paying members. So my ask would be that if you are someone who's willing to take on one of these, or of someone who might be a good candidate, always my chair@gncc.org email is open, and I would urge you to please come to me if you know of anybody. Certainly we do not want any events to be at risk. Right now, I would say we will figure out a way to make these happen as well as we can, but we also want them to be very successful. In an Olympic year, it's always a little bit harder to find not only our volunteers, but also our events. And I know Scott's going to talk through this as well, but in terms of event hosts, we are still in need of quite a few. I wanted to thank Ardsley and Nutmeg for very recently stepping up to host the Dykes in tandem, which I think is going to be amazing. So it seems like that will be able to be a USA qualifier or USA curling qualifier, which is great. We always like to see that get as full as possible, and I think that will definitely help. We have plenty of them on the screen. I know it's small, but we will happily share this with anyone. And I know Scott is going to talk through this as well. But quite a few events that are needing hosts. So as you're planning out your club calendars, as you're considering how the Olympics fit in, I think especially this year or on Olympic years, we're willing to be a little bit more flexible with timing of events. Like if we need to have them earlier in the year, if we need to have them a little later in the year after the Olympics, I think we have some flexibility to do that with nearly all of these, except maybe the playdowns. Okay. All right. With that, I'm going to move on to our. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
sorry. Quick question on the host. Do you need to be a USCA club to host any or all of these events?
You do not, except the playdowns. I would recommend being a USCA member, just because with the playdowns, your club would not be able to participate in them, which would be a little strange. However, reasonable if you're looking at it as something that could bring in some dollars. That's potential. However, none of our championships require USCA membership.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing to mention here that I didn't yet, Scott, I'm not sure if you were going to do this. I don't want to steal your thunder, but right now our dues have obviously been the same for years, and we try our best to keep them as such and keep them low. We realize as we grow the events and we need more hosts that it may be worth all of our time to increase the stipends to event hosts so we can continue to have events and so that everyone is more willing to host and that you're supported when you host. So that is something that the board is going to talk through. Of course, any increase in dues gets voted on in annual meetings, so it would never be something that comes as a surprise. You'll hear about it. You'll hear about reasons and where the money would go, et cetera. But even if we increase dues by $1, that's $7,000 to $8,000 that we could then break up and give to our event hosts or use in other programs. So just something that's happening on the back end that, of course, before any changes were to happen, you would hear about. Carl?
Have you talked to USCA? Are they planning on raising their dues next year?
I have not heard anything on that. Jen, maybe during your USCA report, you could answer that one.
They're not.
They're not. Perfect. That's an easy answer. Thank you. Okay. So right now, everything projected to be the same for the upcoming season. But I will reiterate, please host events if you're able. Please, as you're having those first conversations on what your calendar looks like, or maybe second or third conversations, please consider us. We want to see you make money from these also. This is not something where we want you to feel an undue burden. Like we want these to be money makers. We want you to be able to have raffles and set the event costs to bring you money. So that is always the goal. All right, with that, Bruce, do I have you on the line?
Yes, you do. Good
All
morning.
Right. Perfect. All right, Bruce is going to talk to us about international curling. Thank you, Bruce.
Sure. Next slide. I think we have, yeah, okay. So there are three international events that fall under international events within GNCC, and the first is the Gordon International Medal. And for those that are newer to the sport or unfamiliar with the Gordon International, this takes place between the GNCC and the Canadian Branch Royal Caledonian Curling Club, and it was first played in 1884. So 141 years ago, we started this event. It's been played 127 times. The only times it hasn't been played is during a smallpox epidemic, COVID, world wars, and lack of ice. But this is a long-running event. It is a men's event and is invite only, although that has been changing over the past 10 to 15 years, going from invitations to skips to invitations to clubs. It is comprised of both friendlies matches and actual matches that are played for the medal. Now, this year, it was played in Montreal, and it alternates between the United States and Montreal. It was played in Montreal this year. There were 21 teams from the U.S. that went up this year rather than 20 due to scheduling conflicts and so forth and invitations going out. This year, the Canadians won by 29 points, which was better than last year, which is certainly an improvement. In addition to the Gordon International Medal that's awarded to the team with the most points during the medal matches, there are additional awards that are given for various different metrics in the Bonspiel. One of them is that the team with the high score for the 3 friendlies matches receives what's called the James C. Stevens Memorial Shield. This year it was given to Trevor Gow and his team out of Triangle Curling Club. An additional trophy that's awarded is the Ad Hastings Award, and that went to a team from Montreal, Montreal West, and the Stuart Yaxley rink. Next year, the event will be held in Utica, and we thank Utica for doing that. And one of the discussions currently taking place is, rather than going back to Montreal the following year, which would be in 2027, there's a discussion to moving it to Ottawa. And that was kind of news to many of us that have been curling in these events for a number of years, that the Canadian branch, which has always been in Montreal for the Gordon Medal, also encompasses Ottawa and the Ottawa Curling Association, or the Ottawa Valley Curling Association. And so we're looking to move the event to Ottawa in 2027. And when we get to the international mixed, the Can-Am mixed, that event will be held in Ontario, will be held in Cornwall, but we'll get to that. We were trying to hold it in Ottawa, but unfortunately the club that we were trying to host it at was unavailable. So it'll be held in Cornwall. Anyway, next slide, please. The second international event is the Ross Tarleton Shield. And this was established in 1967 between GNCC and the Ontario Curling Association. This is a little smaller. There are 16 teams from each country that participate. This year, Canada won by 2 points. And one of the awards that was handed out is the Collie Campbell Award, which is really an award that's given to a curler on either side, either Canada or the United States. And it went to John Pearson of the Schenectady Curling Club. And this is for contributions to curling, sort of an ambassador and goodwill in the sport of curling and the best traditions of curling. So it was awarded to, the Collie Campbell Award was awarded to John Pearson this year. Next year, the event will be held at the Cricket Club in Toronto. Let's go on to the next slide. And the next one is the next slide is the Can-Am Mixed Challenge. Now, the Can-Am Mixed Challenge is something that's been, is near and dear to my heart. I've been curling in the Gordon Medal since 2011. There were a few years that I haven't, certainly during COVID. But during a men's bonspiel up at Cape Cod in 2023, a couple of curlers got together broom stacking, one from GNCC and one from the Canadian branch. And we discussed taking this one step forward, taking the international events one step further. And one of the problems was that for many years, a women's event had tried to be established and it just never got off the ground. And so the decision was, let's go forward and have a mixed event, bring women into the international events. They can see what these events are like, and perhaps they can run with it from there. And so from 2023 to when the event was first held was roughly 18 months. And it was held this year up in Nashua, New Hampshire. Gwen Cralo, and many of you know Gwen. Gwen Cralo was the committee chair to put this together. They threw a fantastic event. There were 12 teams from each country that attend. The U.S. won this year. And one of the reasons we went to 12 teams is because there aren't a lot of larger sheet clubs other than Utica in GNCC. Many are 4. We have a number that are 3. And so if we hold it to 12, we can usually use or go to many other clubs within GNCC and kind of spread this event around rather than going back to the same clubs. And so it worked out real well. I think those that attended this event were absolutely thrilled to be at the event. And we're taking it to Cornwall, Ontario next year, as I said earlier in this discussion. We're looking forward to that, and where it goes the following year is unknown. It'll be back in the States, but we do not have a club to host it in 2027. Next slide, please. With the success of the Can-Am Mixed, we want to go on and go back to either a women's event or a modified open event. There was a survey that went out through GNCC. The numbers favored the women's event, but not by much of whether it be a women's event or an open event. So either is on the table, and we're looking forward, to hosting a new event. We're not going to limit ourselves to the Canadian branch, although that's where the first discussion has taken place. But we are going to also discuss this with the Ontario Curling Association, since we currently have an event with them in the Ross Tarleton Shield. But I have discussed it with the New Brunswick Curling Association and also the Nova Scotia Curling Association. Now, the downside of that is certainly the travel is a little bit further to get to both of those provinces, but nonetheless, New Brunswick is certainly interested, and as is Nova Scotia. Our thought is, for the same reason for the Can-Am Mix going to 12, is to host another event with 12 teams from each country, mainly because we can get to, again, a 4-sheet club in the United States and some of the smaller clubs up in Canada as well. We're looking to host this as we did, since we're the ones that are pushing out and trying to get this going, unless one of the provinces say, yeah, we'll take on this first event. The intent is that the U.S. would host, as they did with the Can-Am Mixed, and the anticipated year for this would be in 28 or 29, the 28-29 season, mainly because it takes a lot of planning to get these things off. We're very fortunate that we're able to do the Can-Am Mixed in 18 months, but we really need to dovetail this into the schedules of both Canada and the United States to put this in. Looking at the current international events at GNCC that take place, the Ross Tarleton takes place in November, the Can-Am Mix, the new Can-Am Mix takes place in January, and the Gordon International takes place in March. Usually in the fall, there's a lot of things going on. So we're thinking toward the end of the summer, or excuse me, toward the end of the season. So that would likely put it into maybe April or into May. So that is currently the future plans for the international events. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Joel has a question.
Bruce, I would only add, this is Joel Leneker from the Nutmeg Curling Club.
Yep.
I would only request that you talk to the RCC on this women's event and maybe give them first right of refusal, since we do have that relationship with them. I don't care where, what association we work with, but we've already had some discussions with them about trying to make this work. And I just think it would be nice for them to say, no, we can't make this work, and then go back to someplace else.
I completely agree with that. We have had discussions with them. One of the things that we learned at the Can-Am Mixed is that the Canadian branch is largely a men's organization, although there's an analog women's organization in Canada as well. So we need to get into their organization. But anyway, you're absolutely correct. That's why I put the Canadian branch first.
This is Carl Thomas.
Hey, Carl.
Oh, I ran these events for many years. As we were trying to put this together, just as information to the women in the GNCC, I worked for the last 15 years to get a women's event set up with the RCCC. And the problem that they have is that the women's auxiliary is tiny. And they're also extremely long in the tooth. Which is why we always had a problem with the women's event, which is why we switched to the mix to try to get it started. The Ottawa Valley Curling Association is very tightly connected to Montreal, and that's a access to more women. That's how we got the Can-Am started. I like the idea that you're talking to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. I've had many discussions with the Ontario Curling Association about this. I think the tides are turning a little bit and the women are starting to step up. We really had a problem getting, not the women on the GNCC side, we had a strong group from the GNCC side that wanted to play these events. It's the women on the Canadian side that we always had trouble with.
Yeah.
So we did have a good conversation during the Can-Am with a lot of the females who were there, and they all seemed really motivated. So, certainly there's good momentum here. So we'll build on that.
I think part of it is people just don't know that these are happening.
Fair.
And I mean, in my club, we have a lot of new curlers who don't even know of the 5Us. So it's hard to get people to sign up for something they don't know exists.
Makes sense.
So I think maybe getting the word out more through the club membership would be very helpful.
Yeah, and Scott, I'll kind of put that to you a bit. Like, I think it makes sense to share a lot of our different events. I mean, the newsletter is tough because it has so much in it,
yeah.
and maybe we just do a dedicated event, blast once a quarter or
I'll
something.
be
Like
touching on this on literally my first slide.
beautiful. I love it. I love that. And that's Amy, by the way, from
Yeah,
Christie. All good. All right. Bruce, I just want to say thank you from me personally. You have stepped up on this board and immediately took ownership of this, and you've done such hard work on it. I absolutely am thrilled to have you on board. So thank you very much for all you do.
You're absolutely welcome. Enjoy doing it.
All right, Dave. Are you with us?
Yes. Yep. I guess that's me. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Good. Great. Thanks. Sorry, I'm in a different location on a different computer than I'm normally on. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Sorry, I didn't get slides with everything I'm going to cover in. So I'll try and talk slow enough to be able to, provide people the ability to write things down, but I can always share information with the folks offline if they need. So first, I just want to thank all the other members of the board. I guess everybody will do that probably too, but it's my first year on the board. It's been great. It's been a really fun board to be a part of. Everybody's been super helpful, and the resources that we have access to are really invaluable. And so one of the things, and I'll talk about this a little later, is trying to figure out how to get all of those resources available to people who need them within arena curling and then outside of it as well. So I'll run through a few things. So just because it's fresh in memory, about 3 weeks ago, we had the 2025 GNCC Arena Club Championship hosted in Providence by Ocean State Curling Club. We had 28 teams that came in for it, representing 19 clubs from 11 states. So that was pretty awesome. It was the second largest GNCC Arena Championship that's been held. I'm going to get some notes into the GNCC newsletter so people could see all the winners and runners-up and things like that. But our event winner that time around was Rocket City Team Stewart, which were repeating their 2023 win, which is a note that if folks are paying attention. I said 2023 because the 2024 event was canceled. If you remember last year at the annual meeting, I was super excited. We were going to be hosting it in a matter of weeks. And there was a terrible circumstance where the host arena had a glycol leak that they spent tens of thousands of dollars chasing down, and then finally had to say, we can't do it. And we had to cancel the event. We were unable to find an alternate host. And so the 2024 event wound up being canceled, but we came back in a flourish. with the 2025 event. I just dropped a link in the chat for folks who want to see photos from that. It was really a great event had by all. And then we have, because we are now a part of USA Curling again, of course, we are hosting playdowns for Arena Nationals. Those playdowns are being held 2 weeks from today at Colonial Curling Club in Worcester. There are 8 women's teams. Actually, it just went down to 7 women's teams. So 7 women's teams and 4 men's teams competing. We were hoping the numbers would be higher than that. We're going to try and figure out how to make sure that those numbers get a little higher in the future. But the winning team from each of those groups will be representing us at GNCC at the Arena Nationals at Curl Vegas this October. So we're excited for that. And I can't remember if I said this already. I wanted to make sure I said it. I know Kristen mentioned it earlier, but special little note of thanks to Roger Rowlett, who's been really instrumental on at least the GNCC Arena Championships, as well as the planning for the playdowns to help us figure out the best way to run the draws, so that we really do a good job with the time we have, the ice we have, and all that. So that's been really very helpful. Other notes. USA Curling has a group called the Arena Club Advisory Group that meets monthly, and it's made up of the regional reps across USA Curling. And they meet to discuss items related to Arena Nationals and other USA Curling items. One of the interesting things they've been talking about in the past few months is the Buddy Clubs program. Arena clubs are challenged sometimes because they are geographically isolated, may not be near a dedicated club, and just may have a lot of new members. So they're putting together a buddy club program that will hopefully match newer and older clubs together that are arena clubs that may have the same type of demographics, that is like number of members, ice time, things like that, so that they can help each other out and bounce ideas off of each other directly with one other group, rather than kind of getting lost in the weeds or not knowing who to contact. So I'm hoping to get a focus on that within GNCC, so that folks can have somebody to help them out. To that end, been also working on compiling an Arena Club Bonspiel SOP, so that arena clubs that may be hosting their first Bonspiel or a bigger Bonspiel have access to some information that will help them along the way, and that'll include everything from budgeting, planning food, stuff like that. And then also, bouncing off of what Kristen said earlier, some portfolio of draws that clubs can use for everything from 1 days to 3 days to mixeds, whatnot. Because we are going to be hosting these playdowns now, that's become a little bit more expensive of an issue. We had heard for years that hosting GNCC Arena Club Championships was always lost clubs money. We've shown that it can be done without losing clubs money, but it requires some planning and some luck. And the playdowns certainly are the potential to lose a fair bit of money. So we've managed to increase the support for clubs, and we'll be voting on that today. So hopefully that goes through. And then the last notes, and I'm sure I'm probably gonna miss something I wanted to talk about, but the last note is to talk about, as Kristen mentioned, that we're looking for chairs for both the GNCC Arena Club Championship and the playdowns for Arena Nationals. I can't make that comment without taking a second to praise and thank Jay Flanders, who I'm not sure if Jay's on the line, but I'm sure word will get to him. Jay's been the chair for the Arena Club Championships since 2014, I think, and has just kind of set the bar incredibly high for whoever steps into his shoes. But the nice thing is we are all curlers and we all help each other out. So whoever steps up to take on the chair of either of these events will not be doing that within a vacuum. There's knowledge base that will be passed on. There will be help done along the way. And it's not as big a job as it sounds like. Really what you're doing is to help find hosts. You're a resource to the host site. As Kristen mentioned, you're checking on the eligibility of the curlers, and you become an institutional knowledge base. And you kind of become a rock star too. So that's kind of fun. And then the final thing I think I wanted to mention is we did not have an Arena Club Symposium this past year. I'm really hoping to have one this coming year or within this curling year. I'm going to be soliciting for topics from the different boards. And that's my final note there. Is I said it last year, I've done it a couple times this year, and I've offered it up, but I'll offer it again, that I really want to get to know the different clubs so I can understand the challenges facing each of the arena clubs and what's worked really well for you as well. And I'd like to try and attend any virtual board meetings for clubs if they're willing to have me, to kind of just, ask some questions, hear how things are going and stuff like that. I think that captures everything I wanted to talk about within arena curling.
Thank you, Dave. Any questions from the crew on the line? Okay. Dave, I just want to thank you, first of all, for your resilience right off the bat. I know you were faced with an event that couldn't happen, and you bounced back from it and have done great things in the arena space, and your hard work shows. So I really, really appreciate that. If I see a hand raise.
Before we get there, I also wanted to shout Dave out. He has really been reaching out to people, doing the best that he can. He's done excellent on his first year.
Yes, most definitely. Great. Thank you, Dave. All right, Kathy, we have you up next for the 5Us.
I decided to be like Dave and not do slides. So no fancy slides here, but just want to touch on a few things. The 5 and unders continue to be very popular. Obviously, with the Olympics coming up, we do anticipate, seeing that surge again for the next few years. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of call out here is eligibility. It seems that we have every event, there seems to be questions about somebody's eligibility. And I think there's a misconception out there that the GNCC is tracking this, and we are not. What we do is we verify that they are eligible to play because they are a member of a club in good standing in the GNCC. That's what we verify. It's up to the individual clubs to verify the 5 and under eligibility of their member. So I would just ask, maybe in the next, because of the Olympic year coming up, that clubs kind of look at how they're tracking that, because there is nothing worse than having to run this down while the event is in session as people are going on the ice. I mean, we had to do that last year. We were literally pulling people off the ice because their eligibility came into question, and it was unfounded. So it rattled them for no reason. So we just really want to make sure that the clubs are kind of tracking this. We are tracking their eligibility in terms of being a GNCC member of a club in good standing. Does anyone have questions on that? I heard the ding.
Yeah, James has his hand up.
Yes. Question is, do we have a set rule published? What is a year? What is a season? When does it end?
Yes.
How many seasons do they have? And does that go out for every 5 and under event?
Yes. And I don't have it pulled up, so I can't read it from you or read it right now, but there is a set of criteria that I'm sorry, there's a bit of an echo, but that it spells out who is eligible. And our curling, year is not a calendar year. It goes from, I think the end of May, or the end of April. Kristen, can you chime in on this one?
I believe it's May through end of April, and you can find all of this on our website as well.
Mm-hmm.
There are 5 and under eligibility rules within the tree of the 5 and under events.
Right, and like 10 event, if you curl in 10 games a year, that's considered your year. There's a whole bunch listed.
Kathy, Jeff was just pointing out that it is on the eligibility form, so the one that gets submitted. So at the very bottom details what the year is.
Right, and that's the form that the club rep, so whether the president, treasurer, or the GNCC rep, they have to sign that for them to be eligible. They send it in to register for these events. So the eligibility is right there too. And if there's any questions, because it is a little bit, it's not, I think, totally straightforward in terms of the years and what constitutes a year, how many games, like that. You can always reach out and we can always clarify.
Yeah, the one clarification. Don't know if this has come up in yours. It's come up some before. If someone participates in practicing only in a season, is that still considered a season if they joined a club but never played a game?
I believe we have a practice session a practice session is defined as any time spent on the ice, regularly scheduled or not, et cetera, et cetera. So that is so the initial one is 10.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of ways people can game their 5th year.
Oh, I see. So
Yeah, it's
called it 10 or more.
I know it doesn't come up that often, but just a question.
No, it's fair. It does come up as a question often, so this is a fair question. So 10 or more games and or on ice practice sessions are considered a year. So whether they're league games, practice games, Bondsfield games, on ice practice sessions, all of those instances count as a game, so to speak.
And a note on that, for transplanted people that like came from, Canada and now curl out of Charlotte.
Yeah.
Your experience in Canada counts.
Yeah, your juniors experience counts. All of your curling experience counts for sure. And I think with the advent of the 5 and under nationals, there are a lot of people that really want to go to nationals, and so we have more desire for people to stretch the rules, right? So I would reiterate Kathy's ask that we are not tracking this. We don't have a mechanism by which to track this. So as a club, we would ask that you help us determine who is eligible, and if you ever need any information on that, we're happy to answer questions or clarify.
Okay. So the next little thing that I wanted to just kind of put out there, and this is something that's been kind of bouncing around in my head, and I literally just brought this up at our last board meeting, so we haven't even really discussed this in any kind of depth, but a 5U open, whether that is a new event or modifying an existing event. So that's just on the horizon. I just want to put it out there. We're open to feedback or input, just in an effort to keep everything open and inclusive and for everyone to be able to curl. So there's that. I know there's been some issues at some of our events. We're always learning. We're definitely trying to do the best. We are all volunteers, but we are, working with Roger. I'm going to shout him out again for compiling like the list of the formats and the draws and those things so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every year. But we learn something every time with these events, and we are trying to make them as seamless and as fair and as we possibly can. But our 2026 events, I think you guys saw it on the calendar already, but the Childs is going to be a triangle, dates to be determined. Kaiser's is going to be at Potomac, January 29th to February 1st. And the Dykes is going to be Ardsley Nutmeg. This was like literally just decided yesterday, February 26th to March 1st. And I want to shout out Vegas, Kansas City, and Utica. In addition to Ardsley and Nutmeg, they were the ones that kind of answered our plea that we sent out last week. So I appreciate that because we were kind of like freaking out. Just in the future, if you ever want to host one of these, like we're trying to get a couple of years worth planned or penciled in. If your club, like in 2028, maybe is thinking maybe we should host one, please reach out to us because we would love to get you on the calendar. And even if you're a smaller club, like a 2 or 3 sheet club, we're getting a lot more, two club events.
Hey, Kathy, I'll help you out with that. Don't worry. In my slide coming right up.
I figured you're probably going to touch on this. All right, so we'll move on. But anyways, if you're interested in hosting, we want to hear from you. And then I just want to thank everyone, like the hosts, obviously the club hosts, the event chairs, all the volunteers that go into these events. Dorothy Roach with the pins and the patches. And then my little team of Jonathan, Connie, and Larry. Like, I'm sure they're sick of hearing from me, but I think we make a little great team. So just a little thank you to everyone that's involved in these events. I really appreciate it. And also a little, like, those events in 2026, it's not official, but it's been indicated to us that they will be USA Curling National Qualifiers. And USA Curling actually kind of held up their whole announcement because we were trying to figure the Dykes out. So thank you to them. And I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions for me?
While we're waiting for any questions, I just want to thank you as well, Kathy. I mean, you and your dream team. You guys have done amazing work ever since I've been on the board. Like it's been, I know the 5 and under popularity has skyrocketed, which is amazing. To Amy's point, we're gonna do a better job of promoting these events, and so making sure that all the new curlers that come in for the Olympics are poised and ready to play in 5 and unders over the course of the first part of their curling career. But really, I mean, you guys have done outstanding work, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I love it. I love the 5 and unders. They're so excited. They love curling so much.
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
All right.
I wish I hadn't wasted my 5 years.
I know. I didn't even know 5 years
I didn't
existed
even know
when I
it was a
was
thing until my last year, and I
Uh-huh.
played in 1 Bogsfield.
All right. So with that, I think there are no questions. So we are going to move to GNCC events and scheduling with Scott.
All right, give me a second.
All good. We gotta
All
switch.
right, next slide. We're going into it.
All right.
All right. It's great that we have all these successful events and everything, but the title says it. We're up to 22 events. We only have 24 dedicated ice clubs. That's a lot. On average, that means every club should be hosting an event per season. There's some leeway there on what, but realistically know that hosting isn't distributed evenly, and some clubs are really stepping up, like Kathy just mentioned, when we have issues, and we're very appreciative of that. And this isn't trying to say that we need to scale back our events. It's actually the opposite. We're proud of how much we've grown, but we need to start thinking differently about how we schedule the events, how we support the clubs, and how we create the calendar that works for everybody, not just the new curlers, not just national qualifiers, but everywhere in between. All right, next slide. All right, so January and February, we all know it's crunch time, and a lot of these events are packed into like 4 weeks, basically. And it's a lot, both for the volunteers, for the clubs, and for the curlers, especially if they're trying to attend multiple events. This peak season clustering puts a lot of strain on everybody, and it's difficult. Like, there's difficult trade-offs we have to make with it. Olympic years, as Kristen already mentioned, only amplify this. Like, it limits our ice time, especially during that time. Whether you're doing an open house before or once the Olympics get on, we all know how swamped you get. The other thing, and put it in the line here, is clubs run very profitable events when you know the groups that you're bringing in, the cost structure, everything. We need to actually be competing with our clubs as the GNCC of how are we compensating our clubs. How are we compensating the clubs fairly to make it advantageous for them that they want to host our event? Like, we need to make sure that we're at least on par with what they could do internally. So we need to reconsider whether the timing is the best, and especially like Kristen mentioned with how well Kathy's done with growing the 5 and unders. Those 5 and unders are then going to the other championships, and we're starting to already feel that crunch. Next slide. I'll get there at the end. If everybody, you would just want to put questions in the chat, and then I'll address it after, if that's okay. So keep putting questions in. So we obviously have a lot of different size clubs. We got 2-sheeters, 3-sheeters, and 4+. We need to make sure that we're right sizing the events to reduce the strain on the larger clubs, but also give smaller clubs more opportunities when it's appropriate. Just like Bruce mentioned before, of keeping their new international events to 24 teams in total means that 3-sheeters can easily host those events. That's a great thing for us thinking forward. As a rule of thumb, if we could go forward assuming like an 8 to 10 teams per sheet, that really fits well with each venue on both a cost analysis and a support structure. Another thing is if we have smaller events, perhaps events could be merged together to be hosted at an appropriate club. That way, but that needs to be balanced there on what's actually that it's appropriate to have certain events together, especially when co-hosting for the larger events too. Thinking about this shared approach, like as the GNC as a whole, not just each club for each event. It will really help our hosting load and I think improve the experience for the clubs and the curlers and the volunteers. Next one. All right. So what I'm really suggesting here is a change in philosophy, not a drastic immediate change in action items, but just how we think about these events in our calendar and the org as a whole. I do want to make a couple call outs. One is holding 5 and under events later in the season allows newer curlers time to improve, increase their enjoyment, competitiveness. And we all know we get those people that jump in halfway through and they're all in and they already want to go to a 5 and under as soon as you tell them about it. Another thing is play downs being held earlier, like way earlier, so that there's sufficient time for those who qualify to prepare for nationals, whether it's travel, whether it's work, that kind of stuff. Another point is spreading events more throughout the season. It could significantly ease hosting pressures, and it allows us flexibility that if a club has a facilities issue or there's a major weather problem, like it allows us time to make an adjustment without full on canceling the event for the year. The curling community comes together when there's an issue, but we do need to give time for that to happen. And another thing is, like I mentioned earlier, combining small events at larger venues could be a practical way to limit our ice demand. One specific call out is juniors. I know they did it this year, and it's something that I do think we need to look at more than just juniors, but that's a great use case of, hey, they only need 4 sheets because they're only doing 2 on this sheet and 2 on this sheet, and or however they want to do it, and it works out good. All right, next slide. So nothing I've presented here is set in stone. I want to say there's no immediate changes. It's just highlighting things that we need to improve on. And now that I've had a full year to ingest a year and a half to ingest everything, these are things we need to do for the long-term success of the org and for the events and for our curlers. Next steps include, we want to send a full membership survey out. It's gonna be probably more in depth. I'm probably going to warn people this isn't a 2-minute survey. Like, if you care about this and you care about where we're going in the long term, we need to hear your feedback. Another part is I really am looking for members, whether it's the club reps or someone that you know at your club that has been moaning or contributing a constructive criticism on how our events are scheduled, timed, whatever. I would love to get a large group of people together to actually get this together so that we have a deliverable for next annual meeting of like, here's our recommendations, here's what we should do. Let's put some of these into action if it makes sense. And the big thing is I want to find practical solutions that maintain our growth, respect our traditions, and fairly support our clubs and curlers for years to come, not just fixing 1 year here, 2 years there. This is going to take time to implement, especially if we're trying to get to the 3-year push out, which I mentioned last year at the annual meeting, and Kathy's already pushing for her 5 and unders. We need to have it not just like all of it needs to be thought that way. And it's not just this one event. No, this is GNCC as a whole. If we're going to add more international events like opens or women's, which we absolutely should try to do if that's what our membership wants to do, we need to make sure we're communicating as a whole and not just trying to put one, our personal goal ahead of the others. And I understand if this being the end of my pitch, this is a lot of change from how we've currently done events and scheduling, but we've seen tremendous growth, like it's been mentioned several times. The 5 and unders are only getting bigger. The Dykes was 48 this year, co-hosted again after co-hosting last year. Like, those curlers are coming, so we need to get ahead of it. And especially with a new round of Olympics coming up, I don't think any of us see this slowing down. All right, we got a load of questions.
Yeah. So Amy in the room actually has a question. If we
you talked about combining types of events. So if the juniors isn't as robust as others, are you going to start a doubles? I know it's getting bigger. And
hold on, can I sidebar doubles because that's another thing. Because there's other things with doubles. Very passionate about it, and there are changes coming, but this is not about one event specifically. I just used youth as the example of they did a combined event this year, and it was a good call out.
Yeah, I think doubles lends itself to be combined. So great, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I will add the senior women's and women's was typically combined. We're trying to grow the
Yeah.
women's a bit and we separated it, but I mean, certainly there are play downs and things like that could potentially be combined.
Yeah, yeah.
Another thing that I don't think I called out specifically, but I did write it in the slide, is if an event is able to qualify as a playdown, we should consider, when appropriate, if it's able, maybe we condense that into one. But I'm not I'm not trying to recommend a specific change. I'm just throwing these things out there, more of a change in philosophy. I want to get a whole committee together. Like, let's actually put our minds together and figure all this out.
Yep, I agree. You have a suggestion from James Quinn, full membership survey suggestion. To get the most potential feedback, offer a GNCC prize package raffle for all those who completely fill out the survey. I like that.
We could probably make that happen.
Yeah, I think there were lots of good things in the chat. I think overall we've answered most of them. A lot of it was like we want to make sure that we are promoting our events, promoting our programs, our instruction trainings, things like that. We definitely will aim to, we do that currently on our website. We do that currently on social media, newsletter, etc. I think we could do a better job generally of asking reps also to help us. So those of you in this room who have connections to your club, if we give you information in a flyer even that you could print and put out at your club, maybe that's helpful. But we definitely want to make sure that clubs are knowledgeable, club members are knowledgeable about the events that we have and all the opportunities we have, because I think there's so much and it gets hard to promote everything, but we will definitely work on doing that in a better fashion.
All right, I'm just catching up through all the things. Thank you, Roger. You brought up a bunch of stuff I was going to say. Kristen answered it, / you did too. Thank you.
And Scott from Dave in Buffalo. Buffalo is very interested in participating in the conversation around Bonspiel schedule timing. So
if you are volunteering to being on the committee, you can be the first member. I think that's what just happened.
Dave's a rock star. I'm all for it. If you've got somebody from Buffalo, Dave, that'd be amazing.
But yeah, no, this is something I want a deliverable for next annual meeting, with working from the committee first to eventually going to the event chairs, working with them before, and then combined to the annual meeting. This was the committee formed. Event chairs have also proofread and agreed on this, and here's what we're suggesting.
I believe Joel raised his hand.
These are just two suggestions to the committee. This is Joel Lineker from the Nutmeg Curling Club. I did poll my board before this meeting and asked, because we ran the Open Championship, which we did a great job at, had a good time at, and the members all had a really good time at. Two suggestions for the committee to consider from a branding point of view for the GNCC and for a incentive to help grow some of the championships that are not so well attended would be: one was offer every team in every championship a free entry fee to come back the next year to defend their title. I realize that's a budget item, but
it is something that's been brought up when we've been discussing stuff, not necessarily on the board, but the people that are attending a lot of events. An automatic invite to the champion is being tossed around a lot.
Okay. The second thing is, from a branding point of view, again, from the Nutmeg Curling Club, is they would like to see you offer T-shirts for every curler that's participated in every event.
So I didn't want to put it on the slides. We're discussing merch, patches, and a bunch of other things, but I do want to have that come from the committee of cost benefit analysis. Do we think it's worth it? Certain events like certain things, maybe there's a unique type of item per event. Again, I agree, Joel, we need to work on our branding for it. Right now, I'm just, the primary objective to me is scheduling long-term and making sure we're communicating together and not fighting over those same 4 weeks in January. It's a lot. And again, I want to call it Roger. He's been helping out with providing draw schedules and competition formats. That also will help the chairs and the host clubs save time. If we then get to merch, you can buy certain things for certain stuff. I do think Kristen's work with the Google backend is going to help us out a lot in this year to year.
Yeah, we
The
also have
club is not suggesting multiple merchandising program. They're talking about one T-shirt that gets used across everyone because it needs to be managed. And I understand that a volunteer has to do that. But it can all be very simple. We do this for the Gordon International. We're starting with this for the Can-Am. It is hugely successful in Canada for promoting their brand. It would be hugely successful for the GNCC if these members are out curling in the Midwest, the West, the East, and they have GNCC shirts that they're wearing because they want to wear them to build the brand. That's all we're saying.
Agreed.
The shirts have been extremely popular in the events that we've had them. Everybody wants to buy one. It's a nice additional monetary boost for the event.
Sure, makes sense. All right.
We are open to all suggestions. I'm saying I don't want to try to belittle anything. Just yeah.
And Megan just showed in the chat too. She's working on a GNCC design jersey with Dynasty. So more to come on that later. Something in the works. Thanks, Megan. All right, I think we've had all the questions answered. So again, Scott, thank you for all the thoughtfulness you put behind this. And I am definitely in your corner for all of this because it's a growing challenge, like you said, and I think you've done a great job putting this together. So I appreciate that.
Just a comment, as far as clubs co-hosting events, as a club rep, everybody out there in the chat right now, think about the clubs that are near you or the clubs that are able to co-host with you. We've always put a driving distance of about an hour as the max that anybody would go between two clubs for events. As we get more and more clubs, more possibilities pop up. And if you have a club near you that could co-host, go ahead and talk to them and, get back to us and say, hey, think about this combination. We'd like to host something. You don't have to always host everything on your own.
Sure, good point. I think Amy's a great example of that with partially working with Nutmeg. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, with that, we are going to move on to Jen with USA Curling updates. Jen, you out there?
Yep, I know. Thanks so much, Kristen. I have notes in the portal that Kristen mentioned earlier. Just going to quickly run through a couple of the highlights there, but if anyone goes through there and has any questions, feel free to reach out. USA Curling and Dean Gemmel has tried to reach out to every club to have a direct meeting about club membership. If there's any clubs that haven't heard directly from Dean or USA Curling, please let me know, or you can reach out to Dean directly just to talk about USA Curling and your club and what you're hoping to get out of USA Curling. So Dean is very much open to that, and I know has gone to a lot of clubs, and if your club hasn't been one of them, again, please reach out. The members assembly for USA Curling will be held Friday, September 19th through the 21st this year in Las Vegas. There is a Curl Vegas Bonspiel that will coincide with the members assembly, and the registration is open. So if anyone's interested in that, that's on the USAC website. There'll be a full program similar to last year's member assembly with certification courses and clinics and other things planned. And again, more information is on the website. National championships have completed for the season with the conclusion of the 5U championship in St. Paul. Team Campbell, I believe, out of Coyote, won that event.
Yep, I got some confirmation in the room that that's the case.
Yep, fantastic. There was some concerns about ice conditions at nationals, and USCAC has acknowledged that and has been working with clubs and facilities and infrastructures to try to ensure that ice conditions will be better going forward. National teams, U.S. has secured the berth to the Olympic mixed doubles with Peas and Dropkin winning, or not winning, but qualifying at Worlds. The men's and women's teams haven't qualified at Worlds, but there is the World qualifying event that's being held in December. So U.S. Olympic trial teams will be, the playdown for that is in November in Sioux Falls. Tickets are available for anyone that wants to go to that. And World Mixed Juniors just finished up, and U.S. made it to the quarterfinals of that event. So that was a good showing for World Mixed Juniors. Let's see. Nomination period for Volunteer of the Year is open through June 30th. So if anyone knows of a volunteer at your club that you think needs to be recognized, the nomination forms and process, you can go to the USAC website. Again, that's through June 30th. I think the other things, I don't know, Kristen, did you want me to get into the code of conduct?
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile just to mention what USA has talked about. Also, very quickly to backtrack on something you had just said prior, Dan Haslett has a question about the meetings with Dean, and he asked if they're for all clubs or just clubs not currently members of USA Curling.
No, for all clubs.
All clubs. Very good. Perfect. And then Michael Dunham says there's also an Olympic trials pre-qualifier in Charlotte. Yay. In September. And we also are hosting the Nationals in Charlotte this year. Yeah, Jen, if you can just touch on what USA Curling is doing for code of conduct and their DEI guidelines, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so a couple of things. DEI policy, currently USAC follows WCF DEI guidelines. There's been much conversation, thanks to Potomac, honestly, and Kathy Ewell and GNCC participation in this conversation. Currently, the USAC transgender language in particular is expected to stand through the end of this summer with, again, active discussion underway to clarify and update the 2025-2026 competitive season. Not an easy topic, lots of energy and time being spent on it. So the hope is that we're not just kicking the can down the road with a lot of the language around executive orders and whatnot that have gone out recently. Some other letters that have gone out to USA Fencing and other things. It's really a tricky spot. So there is attention going to it. Anyone wants to be a part of the conversation, let me know and we can get you added to that committee. In terms of, sorry?
I think it was just me coming off of mute. I think you're good.
Okay. And then sort of as a side note, in terms of, there has been an increase in the number of safe sports complaints that have come through. And it seems like there's been an increase of the use of Safe Sport as more of a complaint vehicle as opposed to an abuse portal. So when Safe Sport declines jurisdiction on a complaint that comes through, then it goes back to USAC, and if USAC, then it may go back to the regional or the club itself. So just of course, every serious complaint for Safe Sport should go through Safe Sport, period, hard stop. But the use of Safe Sport, when not necessarily, diminishes resources and distracts from Safe Sport's intended role of abuse prevention. So just a just a word of caution. I think there's increasing number and locations of certification courses that USAC is posting. All of that information you can find on their website in terms of officiating, instructor courses, all of the above.
You want to put a plug in for using Safe Sport backgrounds?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. On the Safe Sport topic, if you are a member of USA Curling, if your club is a member of USA Curling, Safe Sport program is through them. If you are not a member of USA Curling, the GNCC does have a Safe Sport instance as well. We have all of our information on how to take training courses online. It is not part of our budget to pay for the training courses, particularly because USA Curling does offer them for free. So that's for sure the reason we recommend going through them. They can get a volume discount where we don't have as much of that. But we do have a Safe Sport sort of the reporting tree through us. Anything that is, I think we've said this in the past, anything that is serious abuse, please also report it to law enforcement. It is not something to be taken lightly. We obviously will do everything we can to work with Safe Sport and that sort of thing. We want professionals involved in this more than anything. Yeah, I think Safe Sport and background checks, we also have availability to access those for your clubs as needed. MJ, I see your hand up.
Hi, MJ Walsh from Collegiate Curling Association, Utica Curling Club. Jen, I'm going to ask you if you can work on this for everyone involved, but this feeds into college, it feeds into 5 and under, and the scheduling issues that we have. One of the problems Utica has is being the largest club, club membership in USCA is prohibitively expensive for us. So it's one of the reasons the Collegiate Curling Association was founded. Going back a number of years, maybe 2, it was possible to host qualifying events for what I call, what's the word? Now I've lost it. Roger. Events that encourage newer curlers and recreational curlers to participate at the next level. College, club, the 5 and under nationals. The requirement that a host club for qualifying events must be a member club of USCA is really prohibitive for some of us. Strangely, college has a whole series of qualifying events, and those clubs do not have to be members of USA Curling. It was a policy that changed. Dean texted, I think it was Pittsburgh at one point a couple years ago, saying, no, it's okay. Pittsburgh could host a 5 and under and make it a qualifier. The next year we volunteered to do the Dykes, 58 teams in 4 days, I would say, going to Rogers formats. But it couldn't be a qualifier because Utica was not a qualifying event. So if there's anything we can do to get USCA to recognize that we're trying to help them, and there are circumstances that cause us not to be members that are perfectly valid, we're trying to help them increase the sport, especially for the non-elite curlers. And they could view us as partners. It would be helpful for all of our recreational curlers out there and would add value for them to join USCA. Just saying.
Yeah, I totally agree, MJ, and happy to talk to you further about this and get the exact information that you would like me to bring to USA. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Thank you. I will now get off my soapbox.
It's a worthy cause.
Yes.
Oh, can I actually bring up one more thing? And this is specifically for college. It would be nice if they would step up. College nationals, there's never any press releases. If you go to the USCA curling website, the links go nowhere in many cases. Yes, thank you. They let us run the tour and they want to be involved in running the event, but no press releases, very limited ability to find out how the game is going. There was no online draw last year. And they changed the format this year, which completely undermined how college nationals had been run in the past, where we had after pool play, there were 2 divisions, and the bottom 8 teams played for a consolation trophy, which I can tell you from coaching a team that went 0-3 in pool play and won the consolation event, you have no idea what did for their morale. These kids come a long way to play and have very little financial support. And this year, teams went 0-3 or were out, which was the first time ever that college nationals has run that way. So, and you probably don't have anything to do with that, but I just, sorry. Now I will shut up.
No, I'm all good information to bring to them, honestly.
And yeah, we can talk. Just
okay.
I have a contact info on the GNCC website.
Okay.
I'm happy to connect you to as well if needed.
Thank you both.
Thanks. And then Joel, I believe you had your hand up.
Yes, this is a question regarding the Olympic year coming. In the past, the USCA used to put together an Olympic packet for all club members that gave them some guidance on just simple things like organizing their learn to curls or what to expect out of an Olympic year, what the USCA was going to be providing as far as broadcast streaming of anything related to the Olympics, any programs that were available to clubs where, you know, anybody might come out from the USCA as a follow-up to their to the Olympics, that type of thing. Does the USCA have someone in charge of that? Is that their PR person? And can we expect those packets? And if there will be packets, when can we expect those? Thank you.
There is discussion of, I don't know if it's packets going directly to clubs, Joel. I will look into that and see what the total information is that's supposed to be going out. There is some information that will be going out. I don't know exactly when, but I will make sure that I reach out to probably Jenna to find out what is supposed to be coming out, and I will certainly let you know and GNCC in general so we can get that word out to clubs.
One thing that was successful a number of years back is they had done an Olympic ad, like a 10-second or 20-second ad that could run on, you know, social media and things like that. And then there was a placeholder for the clubs to insert their logo and contact information. I think that in the past served a lot of clubs very well.
Okay.
Yeah, that was very effective, Joel. It was a 30-second ad. It actually was 32 seconds. We had to trim 2 seconds off to fit it into the TV spots. But that was very effective, and we put our club logos on there, and that drove a lot of traffic to our club for our Olympic events.
I'll be sure to pass that along.
And then this is for both Jen and MJ. Brian Stewart mentioned or asked if we could please include Schenectady when you talk because they are hosting college nationals.
Sure.
Great. And then I believe I saw Dylan Wright's hand up.
Oh, I fat fingered it. It was by mistake.
Oh, all good. All good. Any hands up remaining? All right. Anything else for you, Jen?
I think that's it. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you so much for stepping up and taking on this role so quickly. Obviously, it was kind of mid-year when we were brought back into USCA, and you've done a wonderful job integrating with them and sharing information with our board. So I very much appreciate everything you've done.
Thanks.
All right. Next up, we have Peter with the treasurer report.
Good afternoon, everyone. At the close of the fiscal year 2024-25, the GNCC had 7,701 members. We grew by 76 members this year. That is the smallest membership gain since 2013. The previous fiscal year, we grew by approximately 230. 10 years ago, the GNCC had 4,550 members in 47 clubs. Today, there are 82 clubs. Our membership breakdown is 5,712 curling on dedicated ice, 1,862 on arena ice, 88 in paper clubs, and 39 who call natural ice their home. I have 3 reports to present. The first report is the asset sheet, which compares the previous fiscal year with the one just closed. Jeff, you have all that information. If you want to post it there, that's fine.
Next slide, Jeff.
Yeah, it's on the slides. We're going to put all this on the general report as well.
Yeah, it's
So-
currently on the Google Workspace or the Google folder that all of you received.
Yep.
And then also we're going to post links to that on our website just after the meeting.
Okay, as I said, first report is the asset sheet. Although the operating account looks as though there's a lot of money in the GNCC, we have no additional income until dues collection period will start for the 2025-26 season in December. Special thanks to Julie Shanatry from Utica for doing the outstanding job that she is on collecting the dues for our 82-member clubs. The GNCC has 3 dedicated funds separate from our operating account and are governed by independent trustees. They are the Memorial Trust, the Legacy Trust, and the Second Century Fund. The Memorial Trust lends money to clubs to replace failed equipment, has a 5-year, 3% flat rate interest. The trust currently has $74,664 in it. This trust has made loans this year to Albany, Schenectady, and Triangle, which explains why the trust amount is down so much from last year. All 3 of those loans are being repaid on time. The Legacy Trust helps arena clubs transition to dedicated ice and has a balance of $170,201. There are 2 $75,000 loans that are outstanding in this account. Pittsburgh is current with its payments, and its loan will be paid off by September 1, 2025. Pearl Vegas is making quarterly payments, and the loan should be paid off by July of 2029. The Second Century Fund has $89,701 in it, and that is to help junior curlers. Several teams have requested assistance from this fund, and all requests were funded. Our fixed assets are self-explanatory. The GNCC owns 40 sets of stones, of which 13 sets were sold and 17 are under contract. Terms were 3% interest on the 4 to 5 year loans of the clubs that we're purchasing. There are currently 10 sets of stones available for rent. The stone rental report is in your packet and has more details. For the second time in the history of the stone lease program, they made a $15,000 distribution to each of our 3 dedicated funds. The second report compares the budget versus actual expense and shows a small surplus, just over $14,000. This surplus has been rolled into the proposed budget for the income from dues, insurance, junior camps, to create a budget of $155,020. This budget has been approved by the board and was posted on the website. Proposed budget requires a motion and a second to accept. It requires a vote by the membership after any discussions. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to accept.
That was Carl Thomas.
Is there a second?
MJ Walsh from Utica will second.
The floor is open for discussion.
Okay, I see 2 hands raised. Michael and Michael, go ahead first.
Yes, I have a question about the insurance. Why did that double from one year to the next? Can you hear me?
Yep.
I heard you.
Yeah.
Tim Klein has to take that. I don't have, other than collecting the money, I don't have anything to do with the insurance.
Okay.
Tim Klein here, having just taken up the role as the insurance chair. I have no idea what it was last year and why there would be a difference.
The only thing I can assume is that it's the increase of the rates that we are being quoted and charged. But
it just stood out that it doubled from one year to the next.
Okay.
That's not surprising the way the insurance is going these days. Everything is going up. You don't have to have any of your own claims, but every time there's a hurricane, a flood, it costs the insurance companies money, and in general, they just increase everything across the board.
I guess the next question that I would have on that would be how many people participated in the insurance program?
There's a different amount because it depends on, it probably doubled, I would imagine, because of the USCA. When people left USCA, they joined the GNCC insurance, and that may have had a large increase, and that might be part of the reason why.
Peter, this is Dorothy. Do we have the revenue that came in from the insurance from the clubs to see how that went?
I have to look at that, Dorothy. Just give me a moment.
Well, that I can give you. Premium collected from the clubs for this year, $27,469.50.
Thanks, Tim.
I believe 22 non-participating clubs, 32 clubs participated in the program.
Thank you, Tim. Down from Belfast also has a question. Is it standard policy to move stone rental funds into dedicated accounts versus the operating account?
Yes.
Yes.
As Carl just said, it is not unprecedented when there is a surplus in the stone lease program, rather than leave it there doing nothing. Carl in the past has taken and put money in. One time he did a one-time transfer, and because of the large balance from the previous year, it was decided by the stone lease program to do it again this time. So it's not an annual thing. It is when the funds are available. Plus, we ended up selling a number of sets of stones, so we didn't really need the money in the account to start with.
Yeah, we did some rotation of stones to keep our inventory more better stones.
Fresh.
In short. We normally like to keep enough in balance so that if we get a request from a new club to be able to get stones and we don't have any available, that we can provide stones for at least one club. That's why there's balance in that to cover that amount. The practice of putting the money into the dedicated funds has been done several times since we started the Stones program, and it has been a huge boost to those programs and to the GNCC as we make this money available for things like the Memorial Fund for clubs to get access to those funds.
I see Dylan Wright has his hand up.
Oh yeah, Dylan, please.
Yeah, this time I intentionally pressed it. So I do have a question. So I see on the arena budget that there is a line item for the arena symposium. And I was wondering if there was any sort of written contingency or process if, for whatever reason, that arena symposium doesn't happen or those funds aren't completely used, if they could be reallocated to some of the other arena budget items, specifically the playdowns and the championship.
The total budget for the arena under Dave Rossler is $3,900. These are placeholders. If Dave needs money from another particular budgetary item and is not using it all for that particular process to be done, then he can use it wherever is best to be set in. So he has access to the funding.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that that wasn't like hard line items, but they were just placeholders. Thank you so much for the clarifying.
Okay. Any further? Oops, Dorothy again.
With the actual increase in insurance and budget, assuming it's going to stay similar, are you planning on changing the amount that gets charged to the clubs for covering insurance?
We were not planning that at this time.
And the question, sorry, we have one more question from Adam. what was our income in the 2024 to 25 season?
Income for what? Total income, total dues?
Are you looking for dues only, Adam?
No, total income.
Total income.
The same total income that's shown in the proposed 2025 26 budget. Expected income, I guess, is what the line is in the
Okay.
proposed budget. But what was that for the last season?
So essentially revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Revenue for last year was $142,890. And we had budgeted $155,020.
Yeah, sure.
Mary Jane? Andre?
MJ, Utica Curling Club. I have a question about the line item for Google Workspace. Are you using Google Workspace for nonprofits?
Yes, most definitely.
Why is there a $1,500 line item then?
It charges us per user. No, it's not free for all the functions that we use. So basically it's I believe a $30-ish per user.
It's much discounted.
It's very, very much discounted.
I understand having set up. What functions are we getting that are not free?
There were
Google Meet settings, additional storage space. There's API stuff. There's a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. It was to make sure we could host meetings like this and not have to rely on somebody's company's Zoom, namely my company's Zoom. And to make sure we could record and set co-hosts and things like that. So yeah, and there's also different file settings as well that it lets us like sharing and all that good stuff. So
the big thing is we now have a company file structure and it's not under one person. That's the big thing.
No, I understand about Google Workspace having set one up, and Utica's been using it for years, and a lot of the stuff you're talking about is all free, but obviously some of the other, like the additional storage.
Yeah. A big thing we ran into was we could not record meetings.
Oh yeah, transcription.
And things like that. Yeah, that was
100-person limit. I've been sitting here looking at the numbers going, I can log off and go look over Roger's shoulder, but I'm glad to know I don't have to.
No, you don't have to. There's going to be a full transcript and a full recording that we can share after, which makes Jeff's job a little easier too. Yeah, it's a good question.
Discussion.
Yep, sorry, just one suggestion in the chat from Adam. It would be helpful to have the revenue included in the budget versus actuals report too in the future.
Okay. We will take note of that.
All right. Otherwise, I think that discussion would close here. And I think we are ready for the vote. So I will start the vote right now. Again, if you have, same process as before, right? So your same access key, your same password. We've got a couple of people ready to take the manual vote. So if you are voting for multiple clubs or having trouble, please send everything to Scott, whose number is at the bottom of the screen here, and we will make sure that we get you voted. And by the way, as you log into the meeting page, that budget item will say budget, which is fairly self-explanatory. So we will have 5 minutes to vote. I'm going to extend our voting time by 2 minutes just to make sure we capture all of the votes that were texted in.
Bringing a new one in. Someone's having an issue, Kristen, so just give me a sec.
Sure thing. I am extending the vote by those 2 minutes I mentioned, so we should have enough time.
Okay, doing St. Andrews right now. St. Andrews. Everybody has
3 minutes, just a little extra. Okay.
Well, it's starting to warm up outside. It's
Oh,
not,
yeah.
it's
Who-
not.
who do you not have?
skin
New Pond?
melting
New
yet.
Pond, I have it done.
Okay, I'll do New Pond.
It's the humidity here that's so bad.
Yeah.
I'll do Granite.
Okay.
I just added to my same thread at the bottom.
Thank you. Got it.
Yesterday was the first day.
I tried to put us on mute. Sorry.
Next one.
And Scott, everything is in that thread.
Yes, everything is in that thread.
Beautiful. Okay, I think we are good then.
Go
And let me just double check.
Yeah, 50.
Okay, perfect. Well done, everyone. Thank you for your patience here. And we have all of the people who said they were going to attend who have. I'm going to go ahead and close the vote. And now we have the results. And so Jeff will reveal the results.
Yep. So the votes are 6,517 votes yay, no abstentions, no nays. Motion passes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Peter, very much for all you do to put the budget together. And I know Gwen is helping you as well. So thank you both for everything you do here.
Thank you, Kristen. One last item. The accounting firm of McCafferty and Company is currently preparing our 990 filing and financial statement. The preliminary report states that the GNCC is in sound financial state and is well positioned going forward. They are satisfied with our operations, our transparency, and the redundancy in our reporting. At this time, based on the budget that has been approved, I would like to announce that there will be no increase in dues for this coming season, 2025-26. And that is my report.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Peter. Up next, we have elections, and Amy is leading our nominations committee this time around. Thank you, Amy. Just let me know when you want to switch to next.
Okay, you can go ahead. We have all incumbents remaining in their roles this season. So we have the club liaison director, Benj Guzman, instruction liaison director, Keith Scott, junior curling director Karen Cousins, and USCA board representative Jennifer Bracy. And so I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the slate.
Dorothy Rancher, Rochester, still moved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Leanne from
second.
Charlotte has second. Okay. And we will open it up for discussion.
Lots of discussion.
I will just add additional clarification here on both. So Keith has taken over a partial year from Herb Kupchik, and if we vote him in today, that will start his 3-year
His
term.
full year.
Yeah, his full term. And then Jennifer was put in place by the board because obviously we needed a USA Curling board rep. I think she's done a fantastic job. I'm glad that we're nominating her again, and she would then serve a full term as well. There's a hand. I've hidden everything.
Yep, Scott, I think you raised your hand.
I think all the incumbents are excellent at what they do, and the longer we can make Benj do stuff for the GNCC, the better, because he obviously loves every minute of every meeting.
He told me that.
That's true. I'm sorry, I didn't mention which club Amy is from, but Amy is the president of Ardsley and is also leading our nominations committee. Yeah. And then I apparently switched Jen's last names here, so technically it's named Bracy. I apologize.
Kristen, as a reminder, you need to announce this 3 times.
Yes, thank you. I've forgotten this. So, do we have any nominations from the floor? Do we have any nominations from the floor? And finally, do we have any nominations from the floor? Okay, so given that, we will move forward with our vote. Let me go ahead and open that up. And again, if you texted Scott last time, please also do the same this time, and we will record your votes. And let me just save this and open us up, and I will let you know as soon as that is available. It's not yet. Sorry. Just need to get to the review and start vote. And it is now available. So you can now refresh, and the button to participate in elections should be available, called Nominee Slate.
I'm doing last calls. Hold on.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Same thing, Justin, Jeff, and Kristen. I'll just modify that.
Thank you.
That's
That's
good.
correct. Okay, the voting has closed. Thank you all for voting here.
Sure, look at the results.
And Jeff is grabbing the results for us. Sorry, we're furiously keyboarding, keying in the other votes. And
It is unanimous yes.
unanimous yes.
6,543.
Motion carries, and thank you very much to Amy and the nominations committee for doing this very quickly too. Speedy, it was great. And welcome again, welcome back to all of our board members and our USCA rep, and we are very, very happy to have you as part of the board. All right, with that, I will hand it over to Dorothy Roach for the fun part, the awards.
Oops. Thanks, Kristen. As most of us know, curling in the U.S. is mainly a volunteer endeavor run by our love for the sport. The awards committee has been asked to identify and recognize members that stand out in their efforts to support the GNCC and its many efforts. This year, we're going to give out two different types of awards, and if we can flip to the next page, thank you. The first one is the Outstanding Service Award, which is given in recognition of contributions such as, but not limited to, outstanding leadership, successful accomplishment of specific projects, and just long and devoted service to curling. We're also going to give out, hopefully, two honorary lifetime memberships award, which is given to a much smaller distinguished group that has been recognized for their continuous and extraordinary service to the GNCC. Those awards will require a vote by the membership because they, as part of the Lifetime Membership Award, you are exempt from paying dues to the GNCC for the rest of your curling career. So without further ado, we would like to present to the Outstanding Service Award to a person who's been named a number of times during this event today, Roger Roulette from Utica. Roger is our former GNCC rep from the USA Curling Board. He's worked at growing GNCC curling. He's helped to find a home for the Kaiser this year when we were desperately looking for a home. He's been the on-site chair for numerous GNCC events, including the Kaiser and the Dykes. And as he's been mentioned numerous times, he has been helping come up with the draws database, which is helping anybody that's putting on an event. So congratulations, Roger, and welcome to this great group of people.
Congratulations and thank you,
Thank
Roger.
you.
The next award we'd like to give out is to somebody else who is talking this afternoon, and that is Kathy Ohl from the Cape Cod Curling Club. Kathy is our current director of 5 and under events, and it has led to major growth in those events. She also, prior to taking that event on, was our former chair of the Elizabeth Childs Challenge and is very deserving of this award. Congratulations, Kathy.
Hey, Kathy.
And a nice picture.
And a nice picture.
Kathy, it was very hard to find a good picture of you, I gotta tell
I
you.
have a lot of group photos, and we don't want to crop anybody out. I thought this one was pretty good.
That was, I literally, our club photographer was walking around and I was just being a goofus and it ended up in the paper.
It's perfect. Thank
It's
you.
a perfect one.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So then moving on. I'm sorry.
Hold on. Bill had a question before we get to this.
Sorry.
Bill, did you have a question? Or were you just trying to clap in the...
That was a misfire.
Oh,
No
all good.
misfire. Thanks.
All good.
So the next one, we have 2 nominations for the Honorary Lifetime Membership Award. These awards are truly for the people that have been giving years and years of recognition of help to the GNCC through many different opportunities. Both of these people have in the past received the Outstanding Service Award. These require, as I said, because they will now be exempt, for lack of a better word, of paying GNCC dues. So there is a financial a portion to this. Will require a vote from the membership here. What we've done is combine the votes into one vote. So we're hoping nobody would vote no, and so for one and not the other, we're hoping it's both going to be just 2 yeses here. So with no further ado, the first person we're recommending for this is out of the Utica Curling Club, Julie Chantry. Julie has been our head of our GNCC membership and dues. That is a phenomenally extensive position to do it. With it, she has to work with all the GNCC clubs. She has been doing this for over a decade. During that period of time, the GNCC has grown at least 152%. And the position has changed from having mainly clubs that are in the quote unquote traditional winter time frame to dealing with clubs year round. It has become a very extensive position. And with that, I would like to recommend her or nominate her for the Honorary Lifetime Membership Award. I will call for seconds when I get through with the second one, and that way we can just keep this moving a little bit. So without further ado, the next one is a very kind of a sad one. We had planned on doing this before we had heard that Herb had gone into the hospital. And since then we have heard that Herb has passed away. Herb Kupchak is one of those people that when I first became an official, embraced me and helped me in understanding what it took and the type of temperament which he displayed every time. He is the prior GNCC Director of Instructor and Training. He's a longtime curling official within the GNCC, the USCA, and was very proud that he was also in Cortina, Italy in the Olympics. He is the founding member of the Diamond State Curling Club. He's been a member of Diamond State. He grew up, quote unquote, at the Broomstones Curling Club, where I hear there's a Saturday morning trophy named for him, and also as a member of the Philadelphia Curling Club. He's been a member of the GNCC for over 35 years, and if you've been to any kind of competitive event within the GNCC, I'm sure you have met Herb and hopefully walked away with the same experience the rest of us have about what a wonderful man he was. As you probably have heard, certainly did at the beginning of this meeting, Herb passed away on Monday. We have shared the award with his family, and his memory will live with me, and I'm sure everybody else that's run into him for the rest of our curling lives, if not our whole lifetime. Very sad way to do it, but hopefully we're a happy thing to do for him.
Just as a note, Herb was also a teammate in the 2012 Scots Tour. And he was a pleasure to be with over for that month.
Thank you, Carl. So with that, I, as the chair of the awards committee, would like to nominate that we give both Julie Shenantry from Utica and Herb from Diamond State Broomstones in Philly honorary memberships to the GNCC.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah.
Lots of seconds.
Watch the second. Any discussion?
Better not be.
I could not support this any more than I do. Herb is an amazing person. Julie's an amazing person. Two very deserving people. So with that, I will open the vote. Yep, just hit refresh if you don't see it.
Anybody that's been texting me, you better keep texting me on this vote.
And in case you didn't see that, it did get announced in the chat that Herb's family is sitting Shiva yesterday and today, I think, or today and tomorrow. I forget which now. So if we could all send up a prayer for him while we're waiting for the vote to be counted, that would be wonderful. And filling in the space, Roger and Kathy, your awards are in the mail. You should be getting them. Roger, you might get it today. Kathy, it's going to take till Friday because you live the other way across the country.
And I have, for anybody else who's still voting, I have extended the vote 5 minutes just to let us get everything in. We probably will close it before those 5 minutes, but just to let you know.
I'm done.
Just a note to the GNCC, Dorothy puts together these awards. Dorothy does a lot of work for the GNCC between the awards and the pins and other things. And as the award chairman, I don't think she can propose herself for any of these awards, but I think that as a GNCC, we all owe her a great deal of appreciation for all the work that she does.
I agree with that. Cheers to you, Dorothy.
Cheers.
Great job, Dorothy.
Thanks, guys.
Dorothy got the Outstanding Service Award a couple of years ago
She did.
when I was at Nashville.
So you're saying she's just planting for another one? Is that what you're saying?
I don't have any idea what Carl is trying to do with this.
Yes, my awards committee was very sneaky a couple of years ago and met without me. And voted.
All right. So unless anyone raises their hand or lets us know otherwise within the next 30 seconds or so, we are going to go ahead and close the vote because I believe we have everything in.
Yep. And this does require a 2/3 majority because it's a financial decision. As a side note, it won't really matter because the vote is unanimous yes, which I think we all expected it to be. So it is a unanimous yes in support of both Julie and Herb being lifetime members.
Absolutely.
So thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. All right. Old business. I kind of addressed the bylaws that was old business from our annual meeting up front, so we won't go through that again. Just know that there will be more coming on the bylaws. Jeff, was there any other old business?
There was no old business recorded from the previous meeting to be tabled till this meeting. So unless there's any other old business someone else was going to bring up, there was none recorded. So we don't necessarily need to talk under old business, and we can move to the next section of the agenda.
Yep. I'll give anybody a chance to. Marianne?
Sorry, I had to forgot to unmute myself.
That's okay.
Just a quick question about the updated website, which looks wonderful. I noticed you're using CCM, so I'm pretty familiar with that. But when we first go to the site, there's a member login.
Yes.
So my question is, how do we obtain a login, and what specifically requires you to log in as a member?
So there are, every time we get a set of rosters, it does automatically create a user account for our members. However, I will say there's not very much that's in the member site that's not publicly available. The only difference is that you can get to the roster of clubs. And so I think what makes sense, likely because I think we haven't done this in a while, is and Dion, if you're on, this is something that I might be asking for your and Marek's help with, but to essentially send out all of the user accounts and how to log in to people, because I think it's worthwhile to be able to figure out who to contact across clubs if needed.
So if you were going to send out a list of accounts, those I assume would not include passwords, or how would that work?
Well, it would be sent to individuals, and it would have your temporary password, and then you would go in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So each individual would get a username and a temporary password.
Yeah. So
Okay.
essentially,
Excellent.
we'd have to figure out a way to do that. I'm sure there's one. I just discovered mail merge in Gmail from our business account, so that's something we can do now. So that may be something we can undertake in the next month or so here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to move on to new business then. Any new business from the floor? I think we've kind of gone through the GNCC overall new business in my section and the committee updates.
Yeah.
Give it about 30 seconds and then we'll move on. Because I think you can all see what's next on the agenda. Scott?
I want to say that although it's new, different, and we have some challenges we need to still fine tune, this was way faster taking votes. I think the digital adoption is well overdue. And as long as we have an analog or backup option for everybody, I think this has sped the process up immensely. So congratulations and great job, guys.
Yes, thank you very much for all your help in it too, Scott. I think, we learned a lot about this process for sure, especially going through it with all the variables that you don't necessarily have when you're testing it. So I think that we have a couple things we'll tweak for next time, but overall, I'm pretty pleased with it as well. And I saw one hand raised as well. I missed who it was.
It's MJ.
MJ.
MJ. Yes, please.
Since we now have a Google Workspace account, will we be setting up a YouTube channel?
Great question.
And I know that takes time, and I'm not asking because I expect people to be streaming GNCC championships or anything, but I know that especially during COVID, there were a number of webinars run on ice making, on college curling, on 5 and under strategy. I know Utica hosts 3 of those webinars. I'd like to get them off our YouTube channel and onto your YouTube channel. And I could say that would be a good place to have a really brief presentation on how to use Election Buddy.
Sure, I like that idea. Yeah, I think it's a great
And I
idea.
realize that might be down the road, but just a thought.
No, I think it's good. I'll add to the help needed if someone has expertise in doing that. It's something I could take on if I had the bandwidth, but right now that's not maybe once I'm no longer chair, that's something I can take on. But for sure, if anyone has expertise in this and would be willing to, and I think especially with a YouTube channel, if you don't add anything to it for a while, it just gets kind of stale and people forget about it. So I'd
The algorithm.
yeah, and I kind of be looking for somebody who was willing to suggest new video content, maybe even go out and acquire new video content. So if someone is interested in doing that, that would be amazing. And yeah, Peter, to answer your question, it is free, and free, as Scott answers, free in cost, expensive in time. That is absolutely true. But I think it's worth it. It is, it's included in our Google Workspace as well, some more advanced features of it, the business features of it. So I think it's well worth doing. But yeah, if you, again, I'll put that in our call for volunteers. If anybody is willing or knows somebody who's really good with it and has a little extra time on their hands, yeah, please let me know. Chair 24/7 Carl Thomas videos from Dave Colley. But yeah, you can always get to me at chair@gncc.org. I'm probably a harder person to get on the phone, but email I'm pretty quick. So certainly if you ever have any ideas, think of anything, have anybody who might be a good fit for a position, the board, if you want to host something, I'm always happy to connect you with anyone in the club, or in the organization. All right. Any other new business? All right. With that, thank you for all your time today. And we are officially adjourned. Oops. Somebody said something? Okay, I think I'm going to go.
My turn to fat finger. My turn to fat finger. We're good.
All right. We're officially adjourned. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.